Honestly, no one wants to think about HIV, but there are things that everyone can do to help prevent it.
Things like PrEP. PrEP stands for pre-exposure prophylaxis, and it means routinely taking prescription medicine before you're exposed to HIV to help reduce your chances of getting it. PrEP can be about 99% effective when taken as prescribed. It doesn't protect against other STIs, though, so be sure to use condoms and other healthy sex practices.
Ask a healthcare provider about all your prevention options.
And visit findoutaboutprep.com to learn more. Sponsored by Gilead.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool FC on a Tuesday, on which there's not a whole lot going on. We're still waiting for the news about Alisson Becker, and the longer it goes without that news, the more the angst builds and the more the worry builds and the more you become convinced that he's going to be out for 3 months. Hopefully it's nothing like that and he's only out for a couple of games, because our next 3 games are all winnable, even if we don't have the best goalkeeper in the world. We play Fulham at home, we play Sheffield United away, we play Crystal Palace at home. Then we face 2 of our biggest rivals, Manchester United and Arsenal, in back-to-back games. And hopefully he's back for them. We can live without him, I think, for the next 3. For United and Arsenal, you'd very much want him between the sticks. I've just watched a video of Mark Goldbridge talking about the title race. And to be clear, there is no title race at the moment. We're 13 games into a season. The title race will begin in March and April when there's 10 games left. It doesn't begin at this stage of the season. But if you look at the table right now, obviously Arsenal sit top, City second, and we are third with Aston Villa in 4th place. And we have played, of those teams, the hardest fixtures thus far, in my opinion. We've gone away to Chelsea, we've gone away to Newcastle, we've gone away to Wolves, away to Spurs, away to Brighton, and away to Manchester City. And we would have been unbeaten through those games if not for, well, we know what happened at Spurs. One of the worst officiating performances you'll ever see, and a monumental cock-up on VAR that still hasn't fully been explained yet. And there was definite lies told afterwards. The claims that the on-field officials didn't know that the wrong decision had been made till half-time. It's just a lie. You can see the moment when the referee finds out that the wrong decision has been made, that the goal should have been awarded. You can see that moment. You can see his facial expression. It's 20 seconds after the restart. They have a throw-in. And he gets told, what's gone on here? Why wasn't the goal given? The audio they released is just the audio of the process. Good process, lads. So, if not for that, we would be unbeaten in the league thus far. And the only bad result we have this season, because even taking it in as a loss away to Spurs is not a bad result, because Spurs are a good team. They're a Big Six team. And at that point in the season, they were rolling. The only bad result is to draw away to Luton. A draw away to Chelsea, a draw away to Brighton, a draw away to City. They're not bad results. They're good results. Regardless of where Chelsea sit in the league, and they are desperate. We didn't know on the opening day of the season they were going to be this poor. They're a Big Six rival. They're a club that have spent £1 billion in the last 15 months. The draw away to Brighton is a good result. They're a really good team. It's a tough place to go. And the draw away to City is a really good result, especially considering we didn't play anywhere close to our best. So you look at that and you think, okay, all things considered, we'd all have taken where we are right now. We'd all have taken 28 points from 13 games. Because the aim for this season is top 4. The aim is to get back into the Champions League where we belong. The aim is to win the Europa League, maybe win one of the domestic cups. Because we're not the finished article, because we're still a work in progress, we're still 2, maybe 3 players short of the ideal starting 11. Winning the title is seemingly out of reach. And I still think City are going to win it quite comfortably. I think, like last season, they're coasting through the first half of the year. They'll get KDB back, and I think they'll kick on in the second half of the year and win the league quite comfortably. But what if they don't? What if they don't manage that? What if they do hit the skids a little bit? There's a reason no one wins 4 league titles in a row. The great United teams under Ferguson, the great Liverpool teams under Bob Paisley, they didn't win 4 in a row. So what if City don't do it? Well, the next month or so is going to be vital. If we just look at the month of December for the top 4 and Spurs, who are right in this mix, they're 2 points behind Aston Villa. Obviously, they've got a bunch of injuries right now, but they're in a pretty good position. They've had a good start. Yes, they're in a bad run of form at the moment, 3 defeats in a row, but it's explainable when you consider the madness of that game against Chelsea, and then the fact that they've been missing 3 and then 5 starters over the 2 subsequent games. So Tottenham in December, they go away to City. They play West Ham home, Newcastle home. They're away to Forest. They're home to Everton. They're away to Brighton. They're home to Bournemouth. That's a really tough run. A really, really tough run. There's only 2 games that you'd look at right now as things stand and say they'll win that. Home to Everton, home to Bournemouth. You'd expect them to lose away to City. West Ham at home, if they're still missing, well, they will be missing Maddison. They will be missing Van de Ven. They'll have Romero back. They'll have Basuma back, and you'd expect Matar Sarr will be back as well. So maybe you say win against West Ham. Newcastle home, I could see that being a draw. Forest away, I think they'll win, even though Forest are pretty good at home. So that's 7 points. The Everton win would make it 10. Brighton, a draw, a defeat. I wouldn't be surprised if they lost. Let's say they lose. And then I think they'll beat Bournemouth, like I said, on the final day of this calendar year. So you're looking at, I think, 4 wins, a draw, and 2 defeats. That's 13 points. That would take them to 39 points at the turn of the year. Aston Villa, away to Bournemouth. They've just found a bit of form. Villa aren't great away, even though they did beat Spurs at the weekend. They lost at Forest. They drew at Wolves. They lost at Anfield. They lost at St. James's. They weren't overly convincing in their win against Burnley. They did beat Chelsea. So let's say they go there and win. Then they're home to Manchester City and home to Arsenal back-to-back. 2 draws? Would that be fair? I think that's about fair. There's 5 points. They're away to Brentford, tough place to go, potentially another draw. 6 points. Home to Sheffield United, they'll win. Away to United, that's tough. That is tough. We'll go a defeat in that one, I think. If we're giving them draws home to City and Arsenal, giving them the benefit of the home pitch, I think we'll go defeat away to United, and then they'll beat Burnley. So you're looking at 3 wins, 3 draws, and a defeat. That's 12 points. That puts them on 40 points at the turn of the year. Manchester City, they've got a tough run now. Home to Spurs, away to Villa. Beat Spurs, draw with Villa, we'll say 4 points. They'll beat Luton, that's 7. They'll beat Crystal Palace at home, that's 10. The Brentford game will not be played because they're away at the World Club Cup. Then they'll play Everton away, and then they'll play Sheffield United at home. So after these next 2 games, which are tough and come off the back of Chelsea and Liverpool, it's an easier run from there. So we've got 4 wins, 5 wins and a draw. That's 16 points. But they'll have a game in hand. They'll be on 45 points with the game in hand. Arsenal, home to Wolves, you'd expect them to win. Away to Luton, you'd expect them to win. That's 6 points. Away to Villa, we've gone draw. That's 7. Home to Brighton? Could Brighton go there and get a point? I think they could. That's 8. I think they lose at Anfield. They'll beat West Ham. They'll beat Fulham. That's 14 points. So that'll be them on 44 points. A point behind City, and City will have a game in hand. And then us. Home to Fulham, win. Away to Sheffield United, win. Away to Palace, win. Home to United, win. Home to Arsenal, win. Away to Burnley, win. And then we play Newcastle on the 1st of January, which is our 7th game. I think we can win the next 7 in a row before this break that happens for the FA Cup and then that week off thing that they do now. I legitimately think we can win all 7 games. But let's say we drop points in one. Let's say we draw at home with Newcastle. Let's say we win the next 6. Because I think we will beat United and I think we will beat Arsenal. At home, I think we beat both teams. So let's say we do 6 wins and a draw. That's 19 points. That would put us on 47 points. 2 clear of City, but they will have a game in hand, which is Brentford, which you'd expect them to win. We'll be 3 clear of Arsenal. 9 clear of Spurs, and 7 clear of Villa. Does anyone think that those are unrealistic predictions, that we would beat Fulham, beat Sheffield United, beat Palace? Palace could be tough. I mean, it could be tough. They could get a point, but they've just lost Doucouré probably for the season, and they're not nearly as good without him. Eze's just picked up a knock as well. He could be out for a while. We'll beat United at home. I can't see how we don't beat United at home. Arsenal obviously will be tough because they're a good team. But it's us and it's them and it's at Anfield. They haven't done well at Anfield. I don't see how we don't go to Burnley and win. I actually think we'll beat Newcastle. I actually think the one we're more likely to drop points in is Crystal Palace away than Newcastle at home. But let's just say 6 wins and a draw, whatever way. Even if we win 6 and draw with Arsenal, that gives them 1 more point, and it's the same points total for us overall. We'd still be ahead of them. We'd still be 2 points ahead of them. I think we can get to the turn of the year top of the league. Now, again, City would have a game in hand on us, but that would be an incredible achievement, all things considered. Thiago, unlikely to have kicked a ball by then. Bisetic, we don't know if he'll be back. Robertson should be back, hopefully around New Year. We don't have a defensive midfielder. Our defence isn't complete without an upgrade on Robertson and Tsimikas at left back / left centre back. We can go in January and address one, if not both of those issues. There's 2 players been linked with us from South America that profile-wise, they absolutely fit the bill. They absolutely fill the needs that we have. But they're coming directly from South America, and they're both really young. So obviously Gabriel Mascardo is the holding midfielder that we've been linked with from Corinthians. He's only 18, and he's only just turned 18 a couple of months ago. Like, it's a big ask. Some idiot's gone and edited his Wikipedia to say he plays for Chelsea. He doesn't. Chelsea have not signed the player. Chelsea are unlikely to sign the player. It's a big ask for him to come over and step in straight away, but he is an immense talent. He's exactly what we would want in that role. And then the centre-back, and again, coming directly from South America, another Brazilian, Lucas Beraldo. He's 20, just turned a week ago, 4 days ago. He's left-footed, 6'1", very good on the ball, strong defensively, can actually play left back as a traditional left back, can play centre back. Those 2 fit the bill perfectly for us. And 50 million invested in the pair of them, it would probably be a little bit less, but let's say 50 million invested in the pair of them is money that we have available and would be money well spent. The question is it money better spent than going and buying a ready-made player? Is it better to buy 2 young players, bring them over, and hope that they settle in quickly, or potentially just have the aim of they'll contribute more next season? It's a question of, are we prepared? Because if we're not going to bring in those 2 and we still want to fill those 2 positions, realistically, you're looking at well over 100 million for, let's say, Inacio from Sporting. I think his buyout has gone up to 55 million. I could be wrong on that, but I think it went up to 55 million. And a holding midfielder, I mean, Boubacar Kamara is not going to be available in January. I still maintain he's ideal. Now, Mascardo is quite similar to him stylistically, a bit more aggressive. I think he's going to be more physical than Kamara, and Kamara's no shrinking violet. But it's a question of, in January, do we look for the long-term moves, which would be Beraldo and Mascardo, or do we look for the win now? We're top of the league now. Let's go now and try and win this title. Because to do that, you're going to be paying well in excess of 100 million. You're going to be paying more, I would say, for Inacio than you would for Beraldo and Mascardo. And you're going to pay another 50 million. Let's say we go João Palhinha. Let's say that's who we go for. And allegedly his new contract that he signed with Fulham has a buyout clause. The question is, does that buyout clause kick in January? Does it kick in the summer? Because I would guess it's probably for summer, similar to what Alexis did last year with Brighton. To try and get him in January, they're probably going to hold for 70 million. But if you want to go all in, that's what you're looking at. 125 million. To go all in with no guarantee that you win the league, of course. So are we better to hold the course, stay long-term in our vision, go Moscardo, go Beraldo, and aim that we ease them in over the back half of the season, and come next season, they're ready to start. Now, Beraldo will still only be 18 to begin next season. Sorry, Moscardo would only be 18 to begin next season. So even at that, it's a big ask. You'd probably still want to go and find someone to rotate with him in that position. But when Goldbridge said that earlier, and I thought, you know what? When we look at our fixtures, they are favourable. They are favourable. We've got 4 that we should win. They're all away from home. And our 3 tougher games are all at home. And if Alisson's back for United and then Arsenal and then obviously Newcastle, you would make us heavy favourites against United, who are absolutely woeful. And I don't care what the league table says. There is just no argument to be made that they're the 6th best team in the country right now. They scored 16 goals. Their goal difference is 0. They're not a good team. And 3 of those goals came against Everton in a game in which Everton should have scored at least 2. In a game in which Everton should have been 2-1 up by half time, which likely means a totally different second half.
Hey, this is Chuck the Goat from Goat USA. I wanted to break into your podcast and tell you about the new Goat USA store, coming to Garden State Plaza on November 1st. If you love high-quality lifestyle apparel, then get in on the hottest athletic lifestyle brand. Come buy an iconic t-shirt and heavenly soft-hooded sweatshirt and start feeling like the greatest of all time. So come on out to Garden State Plaza in November and get your Goat USA swag. Goat USA, apparel for kids and adults. Chuck out. Hey, this is Chuck the Goat from Goat USA. I wanted to break into your podcast and tell you about the new Goat USA store, coming to Garden State Plaza on November 1st. If you love high-quality lifestyle apparel, then get in on the hottest athletic lifestyle brand. Come buy an iconic t-shirt and heavenly soft-hooded sweatshirt and start feeling like the greatest of all time. So come on out to Garden State Plaza in November and get your Goat USA swag. Goat USA, apparel for kids and adults. Chuck out.
I don't think we're going to win the league this year. And I'm going to continue to say that because I don't want to get myself drawn into that hope, because it is the hope that kills you. I'm going to continue to say I think City win the league. I think we get second. I don't think it's going to be a second like 18, 19, 21, 22. Don't know that any of us could survive another one of those. But I do think we can get second and we can push them. And if we can push them to March, let's say mid-March, we're still within a point or 2 of them. And then let's say they just pull ahead and end up winning it by 8 to 10 points. That's still going to be a really good season if we finish second, win the Europa League, and let's say we win the League Cup as well, which, you know, it's worth pointing out is shaping up to be favourable for us. We play West Ham in the quarterfinal at Anfield. You would expect us to win that game. You look around, Chelsea face Newcastle, so one of them is going out, and you'd fancy us to beat either in a 2-legged game. Everton play Fulham. You'd fancy us to beat either of them in a 2-legged semi-final. Is it 2 legs this year? I think it's 2 legs this year and changing next year to 1 leg. And then Port Vale against Middlesbrough. I mean, Port Vale are a League One team, Borough are a Championship team. You would very much have to favour us to beat either. But let's say we beat West Ham and then we draw Chelsea or Newcastle. To me, that's the ideal. And then Everton or Fulham play Port Vale or Borough, and then we get one of them in the final. You'd rather have Chelsea and the Toon over 2 legs, I think, just in case you have an off day in one of the legs. But that competition is very much shaping up to favour us to win it. The Europa League, myself and Carol went through it on Scouted today. There's no one that you'd look at and think we'd be worried about them. Atalanta are good. Leverkusen are good. West Ham are decent. Marseille are okay. Brighton are good. But you'd still fancy us to beat them over 2 legs. And of the teams that might drop in out of the Champions League, the teams that are in those positions to do that now, you're not really going to be overly concerned. You're just not. I think we're in a really good spot right now. I do think come January, we need to address some of the weaknesses in the squad. But I think bringing in a Moscardo, bringing in a Beraldo, I think is probably the smartest way to go about that. Now, look, if it was Moscardo and Inacio, I would prefer that because you get one ready-made starter in Inacio. If it was Beraldo and João Palhinha, I would prefer that than just the 2 young players, even though I do think Moscardo is going to be a very, very special player. I think he's got the potential to be one of the best midfielders in the world in that role because he's good on the ball, but he reads the game so well for such a young player. Honestly, you watch him play, you're going to think he's 27, 28 in his pomp. Like, he doesn't make young player mistakes. You know, you always see young players they do something silly at some point in the game. Whether it's they get overambitious with a pass, whether it's they just switch off for a second and don't track a runner or, you know, miss a rotation or whatever it might be. That doesn't happen with him. He is laser focused. And he's a tough kid as well. Like, he's not shirking challenges. He's already showing signs of being an outstanding ball winner. And I don't make this comparison lightly. But the player he reminds me of more than any other is Roy Keane. And I had to sit and suffer while Roy Keane dominated the Premier League for 12 and a half years with United. Won a bunch of league titles, a bunch of cups, a European Cup. I don't want to risk missing out on the player who could potentially be the next Roy Keane. And again, I do not make that comparison lightly. People that listen to me and talk to me know how important a figure I view Roy Keane as in Premier League history. I think he's the greatest midfielder the league has seen. I think he's the best captain the league saw. I think he's the best winner that the league has seen. I think Moscardo, now I don't know about the leadership aspect, but all you hear about him is how intelligent he is, how focused he is, how he's also taking on courses outside of football. So he's got that disciplined type of life, committed to excellence on and off the pitch. I really do think he's someone that we should be looking for. I'm just going to leave it at that for today. I'm going to give you what we have on Anfield Index. You can check out the other sites for yourself. There's a piece about Unai Emery. There is a piece about Alisson's injury and the potential impact. There's a piece about me saying Jamie Carragher is wrong about a lot of things, which I maintain that he is. Another piece about Alisson and Jota. Of course, he got injured at the weekend as well. I didn't even think of that. I picked him to start on Thursday, but he won't be playing on Thursday. Piece about the City game. There is a couple of scouteds up. There is a reflection on the City game. We had a good chat about Unai Emery. and we talked about young players that we would buy. And the two that stand out to me above everybody else are Gabriel Mascardo and Archie Gray. And if I could in any way have any influence at Liverpool, they're the players I would be pushing them to go and spend significant amounts of money on, because I think they're both going to be really special players. Archie Gray will be the player people think Declan Rice is. And better again. And like I said, Mascardo, I don't know if he'll be Keane level, but stylistically, the approach, it all reminds me of Keane. We also did one ahead of Lask, so check that one out. We did, there's an Under Pressure. Good, Bad, or Just Different. Dan Kennett, Hamza, Phil Barter, and Cy Brundish. And there is part 1 of the new Songs of Anfield series that Dave Davis is running with David Jaggs from the Ragamuffins. So do check that one out. It's sure to be a belter. That'll do me for today, folks. I'll see you all tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.